loss of biodiversity, degradation of seas and oceans, climate change, pollution, invasive species, emerging diseases. Everyone is talking about these issues, but what do they really mean? Why do they matter to us? And what can we do to make a difference and help protect our planet? These are complex topics that we invite you to explore with us through 18 short learning episodes. In this first episode, we're going to find out more about the natural world around us. Let's start at the beginning. Did you know that there are between 8 and 10 million species on Earth? But what is a species? A species is an animal, plant, fungus, or microorganism that has characteristics that enable it to be identified without being confused with another organism, which may sometimes resemble it. However, within the same species, there are sometimes very different shapes, sizes, and colors, particularly between males and females, or even over the seasons. Physical differences alone are not enough to define a species. We therefore look at the ability of individuals of the same species to reproduce with each other, despite all the differences that may exist. But here again, this is not always enough. Some different species, which are not yet very far apart from each other from an evolutionary point of view, are still capable of having offspring together. This is the case, for example, of the horse and the zebra, whose union can give rise to a zorse, or the lion and the tiger, whose offspring are called tigrons. So in the end, the key criterion for talking about different species is that while the two species can reproduce, the first generation of offspring they produce cannot. And what about humans? Well, our ability to interbreed shows we're all undeniably part of the same species. Of course, you've probably heard of biodiversity, but what exactly does this term mean? The word was coined in the late 1980s to describe biological diversity. This is what we call the living world on our planet. In other words, all forms of life and the natural environments that support them. Biodiversity comprises 3 levels. Species diversity, an elephant and a giraffe are obviously different species. The diversity of individuals within each species. 2 giraffes are different, each with its own genetic capital. The diversity of living spaces. This is what we call the habitat, where these species live. Together they form the ecosystem. And in Africa, there's a huge variety of ecosystems: forests, rivers, mountains, and even deserts. So, in the end, what is nature? It's the whole formed by a community of living beings, animals, plants, fungi, etc., that interact with their environment, their habitat. These living beings build and modify each other, exchanging energy, information, and materials. This enables life to be maintained and to develop. It's a complex system that combines many phenomena such as predation, reproduction, and migration. So you see, if nature is to survive, we need to take care of its balance. If we upset it, the risk is that everything will come to a halt. It's not just a question of protecting the environment. We need to ensure that all the events that take place in it can continue to exist. In the next episode, we'll try to understand more about how nature works. We've reached the end of this episode. Thank you for listening attentively. Visit www.youth-conservation.org to learn more and explore all our resources dedicated to the environment and its protection. See you soon for the next episode.